In today's episode, I hosted Brian Upton on the podcast. Brian is extraordinary. At 71 years of age, he's currently preparing to run 7 marathons in 7 days in 7 states of Australia for the Bravehearts Foundation. In his own words, Brian loves to hug the hard yards and is the epitome of hard work and discipline. Each week, he puts in anywhere from 70 to 100 kilometres of running, plus multiple strength, swimming and recovery sessions. Brian believes we should all be striving to be the best we can be and help others because
you never know when that last day of your life's going to be there, so make the most of it.
if you think you're too old to run or to exercise in general and you've let your health and fitness slip, then Brian is here to fire you up and get you back on track. It's been an honour of mine to get to know Uppy, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Welcome back to the First 42K podcast, and I'm delighted to have an inspirational guest. He's an ultra endurance athlete. He's a cancer survivor, and he's a 71-year-old superhuman. He's a father, he's a grandfather, and he's just a great person, most importantly. Brian Upton, welcome.
Thank you very much, Sean. Glad to be here.
Mate, great to have you on. It's been really nice getting to know you since I made the move to the Gold Coast, and we were out running one day in Currumbin Valley just with the Salt Social crew. It was a long run, I think a 14K weekend long run, and I was just running along talking to someone, and then I realised, wow, there's a bit here, so we need to share this story with some other people. So as I said, mate, thanks for jumping on and really keen to dive into your story. There's a lot to unpack, but 71 years old, firstly, and still getting after it every single day with your training.
Yeah, I mean, why not? It's just, you never know when that last day of your life's going to be there, so make the most of it, and you'll always regret what you haven't done, rather than thinking about, well, yeah, I've done these things, but why not just keep going and achieve more things for other people? And the side effect of that is you achieve it for yourself anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah, well said. I think and one thing that I know we're very passionate about is short-term pain for long-term gain.
Definitely, yeah. Learn to hug the hard yards and embrace the suck, as they say, or embrace the pain, because it's short-term.
Which has been a bit of a conversation for you and I, because we've been going to P3 together and jumping in the cold pools and hot pools, and I'm definitely not an experienced campaigner like yourself. So I'm still getting used to that cold water. The coldest pool is about 5 degrees, and how it works is there's 4 pools. So you have one that's really cold, one that's really hot, and then one that's sort of warm and one that's cold. And you're meant to go 4-minute rounds. And I was in the pool with Brian, and basically the 4-minute bell goes off on the big screen, and the noise goes off and it says, get out, go to the next pool. And he says, where are you going? We're staying for another 4 minutes in the cold.
I learned that, there's a bit of a story to that. I actually learned that when I was going through my cancer treatment, because my bad days were day 4, 5, 6 and 7. And I'd get down there and just sit in that pool and think, okay, I don't care how cold this is. There's nothing as bad as the chemo, and nothing as bad as having cancer. So I learned to embrace it and just love it and sit there and just totally chill out. And I'd go back home after each session, and I was in a good mood, rather than feeling sorry for myself because I just had a chemo jab or something like that. So so it's just become a natural thing for me.
Incredible. How many days a week are you jumping in the ice bath?
I try to do 3 or 4 days. 4 days is good. If you can get in there 4 days, then it really you really find the difference. I mean, the day that you and I went there just recently and did 3 lots of 8 minutes to the cold, I ran the next day, and it was just such a pleasurable 22K run with some hills, but because we had that big session in the cold water.
Yeah, it definitely helps. I'm noticing it even with my own training, and I think just not even with training, just mental health. You feel so good on the other side, which is awesome. So it seems to be the thing at the moment. Like everyone is just all about the ice baths. I'm sure that there's many that have been doing it for years and years. I definitely haven't, and it's good to see that a lot more people are reaping the benefits of it. So known to many as Uppy Senior, and you've been married to beautiful Robin for 50 years.
We've been together for 53. She was a cradle snatcher. I was only 17 when we started going out together. I'm now 71, so I must have done a couple of things right. But, Yeah, we've had a good life. Obviously, we all have our ups and downs and stuff, but through everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, 50 years and still going fairly strong.
And it was quite a story of how you met.
Yeah, well, it was. Yeah, my whole family, parents and grandparents, all come from a hotel background, and myself. And my parents had a hotel in a little town in Victoria called Nagambie, and Robin is like third generation in the town, and she was a very good netballer, and I saw it. She was obviously, I was 17, she was 20, and I thought she was pretty hot. So I thought, okay, how can I get a date with her? And I put together a group of guys and said, hey, let's just go have a netball game. And so I spoke to Robin on the phone. She didn't know who I was and such at the time. And I said, let's, I've got a group of people that want to play netball. She's thinking that it was a girls' team. And so it was all put together. We rocked up on a bus, like 7 or 8 guys, and we borrowed our mums or girlfriends or whatever wigs and stuff that we could get, and rocked up at this netball court. Well, Robin obviously refused because she was the captain of the team. But half an hour later, the other girls talked her into it, and basically we've been together ever since.
Incredible. I remember you telling me that story when we were running. I was like, I don't care if Brian wants to share that story or not, because he is. That is just so funny.
Yeah. No, so I got my way, and we've been together ever since. There was no in-betweens.
No, that's beautiful, mate. And you've been living on the Gold Coast since 1988, so quite some time.
Yeah, I was in hotels in Melbourne, and with one particular hotel group. They used to move us around every 18 months. They'd either buy a group of hotels, they wanted something revamped or done up or changed around, and then I'd like, hey, there's enough of that, we need to get to the Gold Coast. So I came up to the Gold Coast, and we came up to the Brisbane first, and looked after a hotel in Brisbane, got it ready for the Expo, World Expo in '88. And then we moved to the Gold Coast, and I was fortunate enough to get a job as the general manager of what was known as Fisherman's Wharf, which is no longer there. The Versace Hotel, everybody on the Gold Coast knows the Versace Hotel is there now. But it was renowned. Well, once we got there, 12 months later, we started putting in Nirvana, Violent Femmes, Jimmy Barnes, Kate Sobranos, all the rest, all the bands, and it became an institution on the music world. Yeah.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
And how about your fitness? Like, were you always, I guess, Gold Coast known for its fitness, known for its health, beautiful place for what you do? Have you always been this person dedicated to running in other sports?
Yeah, from the age of about 16, I took up barefoot water skiing in Nagambie, where Robin and I met. And we were barefoot water skiing with some good friends, and I became fairly competitively with that around Australia, national titles, state titles, all those sort of things, and did that for a good 15 years. And then out of the blue, in '83, saw this event up here on the Gold Coast called the Coolangatta Gold, and we actually had our own hotel as a licensee, and I owned the hotel in Victoria, in Brunswick at the time. And I said to my customers that I said, hey, I can do that. And I'd never been on a ski board or a surfboard or anything in my life, or swum 4K. And sure enough, we trained for it and came up and did that. And later on, we came up and then actually I met a person who had been in triathlons. And he said, when we get back to Melbourne, start riding a bike with us and start doing these things. And he only just got back from Hawaii, which was in October the year before. The Coolangatta Gold was in January. Well, obviously, once I started riding a bike and doing stuff, and they talked about Hawaii, and I said, hey, I can do that. I'd never been to Hawaii. So they wouldn't let me go. That in '84, when I say they, the guys I was training with, they said, no, you need 12 months of solid training. Anyway, we ended up going over in '85, '86 and '87, competing in the World Champs, and the rest is history, because we just stayed with that sport for a while. And then, when that all happened, I was actually looking for something that was a little bit easier than barefoot water skiing. Because when you're barefoot water skiing, especially when you're going backwards at 40 mile an hour, it sort of smashes your body around a little bit. Yeah. So, I took up the sport of triathlon, not knowing that in time, Ironman training was just as hard, if not harder, than barefoot skiing. So.
It's huge. It's massive. I had this conversation with a mate when I was running a couple of days ago, and it's like the training, because you've got those 3 sports. Like, as an ultra marathon runner, you've got your running and you've got maybe a little bit of yoga and mobility. and you've got your strength training, but ultimately it's really running and weights. And then you look at your training and it's like, it's bike ride, it's run, it's swim, and it's weights as well.
That's what I said, well, yeah. And I was very fortunate, same as I was with barefoot water skiing. I just happened to meet up with the guys that was at the top in that sport. The same thing happened with triathlons. I'm fortunate enough to get with the guys that were on the Gold Coast training. They were either world champions or became world champions or Australian champions at different levels in triathlons. And that was a big group of 30 people. Multiple, Chris McCormack, who's won Hawaii twice, and all the rest of them, they're all there. Miles Stewart, who became a world champion. So I was just fortunate it didn't become like them in the sense of obviously world champion, but you learn their habits and you learn their training and you learn to hang in there.
Yeah.
And have belief in what you can do. And I was just, again, fortunate to be able to do that.
Amazing. Well, I think anyone who does the Kona Ironman is a world champion. That's absolutely incredible. One of the hardest races in the world. And you've done it how many times? 5 times?
I've done it four times, but I actually qualified back in 21 when I was 70. Qualified again and could have gone over because, it was a COVID year and non-COVID year. Was it going to be on? I said, no. How many times do you go over to Kona? It's like you do it once because you want to do it. You do it twice to try and become better at it, which I did, and then end up doing it 4 times. No, that's enough. There's no advantage in doing it the 5th or 6th time. Let's find something different.
Yeah.
To do So that's where it sort of.
Where we're at now.
Yeah, where we're at now. I found something different.
You have found something different. You found something equally as extraordinary and huge, and I love it. So what are you training for right now?
Well, I'm training to do something for Bravehearts, and they have an event on every year, which is 7 marathons in 7 days in 7 states. And it starts in Perth on a Monday and finishes on the Gold Coast the following Sunday at the Gold Coast Marathon. And not only is it just purely the 7 marathons in 7 days, but it's a raising awareness and everything else for what Bravehearts do. And that, to me, it just gets me in my heart because I've got 5 grandchildren. And obviously, we were brought up in hotels and ran hotels, so you see the other side of life of some people. And this is all about... And doing it with my son, it's even more way more special. We happened to do our first Ironman race back in 2016. I think it was my 5th or 6th Ironman at the time, but I hadn't done one for 15 years when we did it together, and he and I did it together. So this came up, the Bravehearts. I said, let's do this together. Let's raise some funds. Let's make sure we can get some awareness out there. And I'm just a little old pensioner, so we can do something.
Incredible. So Braveheart's mission is to educate and protect all children from sexual abuse. Yep. Can't think of a better charity. There's obviously incredible charities out there, but mate, what you're doing is so awesome. And I always tell people, we've actually had this conversation, is like, people say to me quite often, why do you run for charity? And the perfect answer is,
why not?
Yeah, why don't you? Why not? Yeah, so, mate, I love that you're doing it. I love that whole movement of running for change or exercising for change, using something that you're passionate about and so great at to really make a difference with awareness as well. Yep. So, talk me through it a little bit more. So you start in Perth on the Monday, and then how does it actually work?
Okay, so we go to Perth we fly over on the Sunday.
Yeah.
First day's in Perth on a Monday, and then we go Perth, Adelaide, Melbourne, Launceston, Sydney, Canberra, and on the Sunday finish up here on the Gold Coast and the Gold Coast Marathon.
Mate, it's hard enough to catch 7 flights in 7 days, let alone run a marathon every day.
And the exciting part of that is that Mark and I will finish the last 400 or 500 metres with my 5 grandchildren. So
incredible.
That's just going to be so awesome.
That will be so special.
Yep.
So the final one, at the Gold Coast Marathon.
Yep. So we get up in the morning, do the marathon, get back to our hotel, pack our bags, go to the airport. Hopefully the plane hasn't been delayed, and fly to the next state and get ready again. Wow.
Well, mate, it's remarkable to hear your journey and where you're at now. Obviously, it hasn't always been smooth sailing. You referenced cancer before, and it was approximately 4 years ago you were diagnosed with prostate cancer, and the journey to get to where you are right now, it's so inspiring because I think so often people at your age would not be trying to get after it and do what you're doing. And I love it so much. I think that adversity is something that I've never experienced. And I think, my hat is off to you for what you do. So talk me through those tougher times and how you, I guess, controlled your mindset to get to where you are right now.
Yeah. Back when I got diagnosed with, actually, we were supposed to go and do a half Ironman in Shepparton, which is a little town in Victoria, and we were going back down there to do a half Ironman, and I'd gone for a couple of tests, and as we were driving to the airport, the doctors rang me and said, yep, you definitely got cancer in the prostate, it's going to come out. Where are you? We need to do it ASAP. I said, well, I'm about to jump on a plane, we'll have to do it next week, which we obviously did. And the cancer, the Gold Coast event, the marathon, which we finished on the 777,
yeah,
it'll be exactly 5 years the next day, because what I did through that cancer period, I still did a triathlon after round 3 of the chemo, and then when the radiation was happening, it was 34 days of radiation by the Friday. On the Sunday was a Gold Coast half marathon, so I went and did that purely just to get the mind set. And then on the Monday, I actually went back and got my last day of radiation. And then that following week, that same week on the Tuesday onwards, I was absolutely totally lost because there was no radiation daily. It must have been a school holiday week because there was no taking the grandkids to football training. And I was sort of, but yeah, so the 777 is going to be a good journey because not only is it the brave hearts, but it'll be 5 years with having been a survivor of cancer.
Yeah, wow. So on that exact day?
Yeah, on the exact day, yeah. We did the half marathon on that Sunday. And I think it all comes back something that, I was unfortunate to lose my mother when I was 18 months old. And I think when something like that drives you to be good with your family and your kids and someone, even though she's gone, because we all have people that go at some point at our time, whether it be fathers, mothers, sisters, whatever they do. We want to leave a legacy. It's important to leave a legacy, but a legacy that your grandchildren or your people around you learn. It's not all about you. It's what you do for other people that learn from it and they become stronger people. I want my grandchildren to become stronger because I did something for other people. And for them, the connection is I did it with either their uncle, which is my son, or their father, which is my son. So there's a double, triple, quadruple reason for doing that together. A beautiful connection, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, you'd be setting an incredible example. I have no doubt these grandchildren must look up to you so much. And yeah, I can't wait to see you run into the last 500 metres with Mark and your grandchildren as well on the Gold Coast Marathon. I'll be there. I won't be, I don't know if I'll be running that day. It's a couple of weeks after my 200-mile race.
Of course.
But I'll be cheering you on, mate. I'll be cheering you on.
Is that an excuse or are you just trying to find one? I mean, it should never be an excuse. Just do it.
Yeah, well, look, I'm going to be doing an event, whether it's a 10, the 21, the 42. Yeah, we'll get it done. Yeah. So, mate, I love it. That's the mindset that it takes, and it ultimately is just do it. Yeah. I think that's why you're in this position today and having lived the life you have in constant striving to be the best you can be. And so obviously through tough times and heartache and wanting to make your mum proud and leave a legacy, would you say that's your biggest driver or has been through your life?
It's one of the driving points. I think you as your own children grow up, you want them to love you and understand why you do things, not just to be the it's dad and that's his way, but you want them to learn and for them to grow. Yeah. And our kids have done that. They've all had their own journey, and they've all been incredible journeys for whatever different reasons. But I think their journey it comes back to what they've learned from us, through my wife, their mother, and myself, and the biggest thing from all that is neither one of them, three of them, not one of them have given up. They don't give up, and that's what life is all about. Don't give up, and I think I mentioned to you earlier, for every adversity there's always an equal or greater benefit, but sometimes we have to just look really hard to find it. And once we do find it, then there's a goal to go and achieve something. Back to my mum. Obviously, I didn't know. I was only 18 months old. We're both in the car. I was only 15 months old because she was spent 4 months in a coma. But it's just that's an adversity. What am I going to? As you grow older and you learn about it, you obviously didn't know anything about it as a child, as a baby. But as you learn to grow that, well, what have I learned from it? What can I move forward and make a positive effect out of it? And that's one of the things I've been able to.
Mate. Yeah, it's such a beautiful growth mindset that very few people have. But mate, keep setting the standards and showing people the way. I love it so much. You were telling me not too long ago when we were running together about one of the Kona Ironmans where you had this infection or injury, and then you just got out there and did it anyway. Yeah,
2001. I always said to myself I'd come back and hopefully qualify for Kona when I was 50. So in 2001, I obviously turned 50. So back in late 2000, I had a knee operation. That was fine. We started running about December. 2 weeks out from the Kona race, I've gone for a ride. I think we're flying out 2 or 3 days later. I've fallen off my bike because 2 magpies attacked me. And I was 50k from home, got back on my bike, rode home, just got strapped up or wrapped up and got a bit of blood off and stuff. 2 days later, my wife said to me, I think we better take you to the doctor or to the hospital because there's a big red line up your arm. Ended up having blood poisoning because of all the gravel and rubbish and things. So got in there, they operated on me straight away on that Monday. Then they operated again on the Wednesday because they just couldn't get all the gravel and rubbish out of my elbow. Stayed in there till the following Monday. And I said to the doctor, I'm getting out. I've got to go to Kona. And he said, well, if I don't give you a clearance, you're still going to go? I said, yep, I'm still going to go. So he gave me the clearance. He wasn't happy with it. And my wife and one of my daughters had already flown over. So I flew over on the Tuesday of that week and then raced on the Saturday. And I was standing at the starting line with a great big hole in my arm in amongst 1,200, 1,400 other competitors. And at the time, it happened to be one of the windiest and strong windiest of the day. There were people on the bike ride itself, people were actually falling off their bike. For me, it wasn't about race times or just get to the finish line. End of the day, with an Ironman, it's not always about the time. It's just you're an Ironman. Yeah, just do it. So, and I wanted to come back when I was 50. So yeah, we just did that, and I think the next day, another well-known triathlete, his wife was a nurse. She pulled the stitches out of a little bit at the bottom part of my elbow where there was a big hole, but just at the bottom of it there was 6 or 7 stitches in there, just keeping it together. So you got to do what you got to do,
mate. You got to.
And you're an Ironman. That's it.
You are, and that's it. And you always will be once you knock it over. That's the beautiful thing. Yeah. Can't be taken away from you. Right. And unbelievable. Tell me about, so you spoke about barefoot skiing. Barefoot skiing. And that was a big part of your upbringing.
It was, yeah. It was just incredible. It was a tough sport because you're always learning because there were so many different, well, they called them tricks and such, whether you're barefooting backwards, barefooting frontwards, standing on one foot, put rope on toe, rope on around your neck, rope in your piece in your mouth and doing all sorts of tumble turns and everything. So it was like a snow skier. You're always learning and practicing on the hard ground, on land. And then you went out to the water. Well, obviously there's always a little bit of difference between water and land, but you just practice and practice and practice. And I remember with just barefooting backwards on 2 feet, it took me 6 months. I could barefoot backwards on 1 foot, but I couldn't put that second foot in. I'd fall over every time.
Right.
But eventually, you just persevere. And I was fortunate enough to barefoot at Moomba, which is a big festival thing in Melbourne, Victoria.
Yeah.
And yes, we travelled around Australia and became part of the Victorian state team and all the rest of the things. It was good fun.
I have heard of Moomba. I know it's huge.
Yeah. Went over the barefoot jump. One of the best good things with barefoot skiing, you'd go over a barefoot jump or over a smaller jump, not like the big ski jumps, but they were smaller jumps. But you went over it barefoot. The key was that you actually still had to land on your 2 feet and ski away for whatever it was. So good fun, and but hard on your body.
Yeah, definitely. So then, what was it, about 30 years old, you reckon, when you got into triathlons?
I think it was about 35 because I did the Coolangatta Gold, did a little bit of gym in between there, just nothing, because we were busy running hotels in the meantime, and then we bought our own hotel which we had for 3 or 4 years. So you're always busy doing things, especially when you went into a hotel to change it around. If that meant going in there and changing the staff by 20 people or 30 people or doing whatever you had to do that. And then just purely fluke, because I did the Coolangatta Gold as a bet, met someone that had come back from Kona, and we became good friends, and then met up with good people, and that's how it all started. Yeah,
it shows how important environment is. That's really cool. So you weren't a runner really at all before 35?
No. Even now, I think I said to you earlier, obviously I've done 7 or 8 Ironman races, which finishes with a marathon. Those 7 or 8 Ironman races with the marathon is still more marathons that I've done as an individual. I think I've only ever done about 3, 4 at the most marathons.
So you did an Ironman marathon before you even did a marathon?
I did 1. No, we did 2, my apologies. We did 2. We did 1. It might have been like a 4-hour run or something, just for the sake of it. And then in the middle of our training in 86, the Melbourne Marathon was on. And as part of our training, we went and did that, and the goal for 4 or 5 of us was to go under the 3 hours.
Wow.
And we all went under the 3 hours. And I went like 2:58. The others went like 2:56, 2:55, and I went 2:58. And that was part of our training. We'd gone for a ride the day before, 60, 70K bike ride the day before, just to loosen up, and then did the marathon. So, and then I think I've probably since then, I've done 1 other marathon.
Yeah.
Since then.
Well,
two, because last year we did the double. We did that half marathon on the Saturday and the full marathon on the Sunday, because it was something new for the Gold Coast. So I've done probably 4 marathons.
So cool. Yeah, that's one question that's a constant on this podcast is tell me about your first 42K, your first marathon, and sub 3.
Well, it was the second. The second one. The very first one, I think I struggled with it, but I realised then I needed to do some training.
Yeah.
And obviously then the triathlon came, and then part of that triathlon training became solid training, and then it was a goal to go under 3 hours, and it was a group of us to do that because we were all training for one thing, which was a bigger goal, go back over to Kona. We'd already been in 85, but 86 was about bettering the time, being stronger, and learning from whatever mistakes in 85.
Yeah.
So that was what we did.
So for anyone who doesn't know what Kona is, or the Kona Ironman, can you describe that?
Yeah, Kona is where the World Championships have been World Triathlon Championships have been for the last 35 odd years. It consists of it was an Ironman distance, so it's 3.8 kilometre swim, 180k bike, and then a 42k run. But in Kona, Hawaii, the humidity is always around about 90%. The day temperature is usually sitting around about the 40 degrees Celsius. And the tricky bit with Kona, or with the world champs over there, is that they call it the Hawaiian gods, and they'll play with the wind. So you could be riding out and think, I've got a headwind, so thank God I'm going to have a tailwind coming home. No, that wind will just change. And it'll change anywhere, and then it'll change back, and then it'll change again, and then you get down into there's a hot section. I can't think that they call it something in particular now, but it's a hot section of probably about 4 or 5 kilometres, and it's really hot. It's really in the middle of the lava because we're all surrounded by lava, so there's no trees and stuff like that, and so it's all about. And obviously there's few hills, but they're just undulating hills, but it's more about the heat, the humidity, and the wind.
Yeah. So if it's 40 degrees, not in that section, it's probably 50, 60?
Yep, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and that's where the trouble can start.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Wow. Pushing yourself to the absolute limits in those environments.
But you got to keep in that sort of situation. Surely it's like anything. If you've done the training, you're okay, because what will always be harder is the training.
Yeah.
No matter what sport you do, if you train right, the training will always be harder than the actual race. And if you learn to understand that as an athlete, then race day should be the celebration in the sense of...
Just the execution.
100%, the execution, because you just keep telling yourself when you're running up that hill or you're riding through, whatever it might be, I've done the training. Let's just go. Just keep going, you know.
Well, it's a beautiful segue. What's your training look like at the moment for Bravehearts 777?
7, yeah. I've got up to about 75, 76K a week running. Obviously, we'll get up to over the 100. But with that 75, 76, it's been constant for about the last 3 weeks, but I've just upped the ante on the type of running. So more hills, a bit of speed work. I hadn't been on a treadmill for, 10 years since I've been on a treadmill. And just learning to get the speed. So, yeah, so now, as the body gets stronger, you can then start to build up the distance, but it's more important to change up what's within that 75K rather than just keep doing 75K. So, yeah, I've got some good, like running Currumbin Creek Road and just getting stronger at that because it did my head in the first couple of runs. I wasn't as strong as I should have been, but now I know it's getting there. And that'll just get better and better. The weights are getting up. The core work, as we spoke about, you just got to keep doing core every single day. You can't miss it every single day. And as you get better at it, you'll learn that you can actually do it a couple of days for twice a day, morning and night. But it becomes a passion for you then rather than an enemy.
Yeah, rather than a chore.
Yeah, chore.
Yeah, well, I'm starting to feel the benefits now. And today's day 23. It was, I just did it actually before this podcast. I went to the gym and knocked out the 25 minutes of core. And it always sucks at the start. It's hard work, but you eventually find a bit of a groove and you're like, I feel like I'm getting better, which is what it's all about. Good. So I love that you train in a holistic way. I love that it's not just running. You've always, incorporated strength training as well, core work every single day. You said morning and night. How much core work are you doing?
I'm doing 100%. I'm doing every bit of 30 minutes. Sometimes it's been, I think this morning was close to 40 minutes. I know yesterday or the day before it was 40 or 45 minutes because you start to remember, you get into a bit of a groove and you want to do 3 sets of this, whatever it might be, 3 sets by 20 and things. And then you start to remember, I haven't done that for a long time. Then you see another exercise. So you just keep doing it and then you realise, hang on, I've still got the weights to do. I've got something else and you've been there for over 30 minutes. But so that drives you because you know that there's more things to add to the core exercises. There's plenty there, but just make sure you do the right ones. Some are not as beneficial as some others, so pick the right ones, and you'll find that you can actually do less of rather than do lots and lots and lots of, and not really get anywhere with that. Yeah, definitely.
So 30 to 40 minutes, and that's AM and PM.
Well, 30 to 40 minutes every day, 7 days a week, and then pick 2 or 3. Ideally, you build to 3 or 4 days doing it at night time. And that should be enough.
Mate, just 25 minutes a day has nearly killed me.
And just you get those hanging leg raises happening, and it's good. It's good for you.
It is. Incredible. Mate, you're training really well, and I love following it. Love following that journey. Where can people follow you if they want to follow along with your training?
Yep, we every week I usually put a story up on our Instagram pages, which is Brian Uppy, or the other one we have with my son, Mark. It's called number 2, which is the 2 Uppies Try, TRI. So 2 Uppies Try is the one we combine together. But there's always something up there. And if anybody wants to donate to the Bravehearts, the link is in the bio of both those.
Perfect.
And the other simple way is obviously just straight go to Bravehearts and go to the 777. You'll see the national runners there, and the link is there. But definitely in our Instagram, in the bio, you'll see it'll say fundraising Bravehearts, and then jump on there.
So you're part of a team. Is it 20 runners at Bravehearts?
I believe there's 20 runners from all over. There's a couple of people, ladies from Canberra, Melbourne, Brisbane, so forth. What's amazing about that group of 20, I believe that there's 2 people that have been there before that are actually survivors of sexual abuse. That to me is way stronger than whatever I've achieved in my life, and I just can't wait to run with those two people, because to me they're inspiring. You know, they've gone through hell, and they can still go out and do 7 marathons in 7 days in 7 states. So whatever I'm about to try and do is nothing in comparison. You know, so that's how you belittle is the wrong word, but just minimise the hardness of what we're about to achieve, because these people have done it harder.
Well, it's a beautiful perspective.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, and it comes back to what we were talking about earlier off air of we're doing these things, but we're choosing to suffer. We're choosing to put ourselves in that position. And some of these people, unfortunately, you know, they don't have a choice. There is no choice whatsoever. So it's that perspective that then you can change. Well, hey, this is nowhere near as hard as what they're going through or what they've been through. I want to help them.
Yep. I've been fortunate's the right word, but over the last, because I'm going on this journey, I like to get really involved with things that when I've made my mind up, and make sure that it's going to happen. And I've been listening to some podcasts of people that have been affected by sexual abuse, and it's even made me more determined to raise more money. What else can I do to make this happen? And yes, it's happened to those people, and we're never going to be able to stop it. Sexual abuse will always be there. Unfortunately, it's one of those things. But can we reduce it? Well, let's do what we can do to help make that happen and do what we can. So that's where I'm at with that, yeah. Yeah,
awesome. So a lot of the money that's being raised, that's going to education programs?
Yep, 100%. They do education programs, and there's all sorts of... the Bravehearts themselves have a range of different programs out there and support groups. So when people are affected in that way, they can ring, and that's where that money's put to use and utilised in the right way.
Yeah. So, yeah, wow. So, and you're going to do it again next year, you think, as well?
Well, I want to. Yeah. I want to. But it's just whenever you do something, you always want to go back and do it better the next time.
Yeah. Well, I think you do. Maybe not, maybe not everyone else.
I know for... it was funny, when I got out of hotels, and I don't know if I spoke to you about this, but when I got out of hotels, I applied for a job. It said a sports-minded person wanted. And as it turned out, it actually happened to be for an insurance company. I ended up working with that particular company for 12 years. And they spoke about, just don't think about the money. Just the money is a byproduct of what you're going to earn. But what they did, very clever, they had trophies. But they had trophies in groups. So there was always bronze, silver, gold and platinum. Well, I just went for I wanted the whole package. So I wanted the bronze, silver, gold and platinum in whatever that might have been. And then I wanted in the next one, because they did the next one in higher revenue. And then they bought out one that, it was funny, they bought out one that was purely selling a cancer product. So if you did get cancer, you could use this policy. I won the highest achievement in that first 6 months of that particular award coming out. And because I won the first one, it was the back end of the year. It was from July to December. So, hey, I had to do it again so I can get the first year. So I had to January to June the following year. Then I had a set. And that was always my driving point. Just, forget about the money. Just pick another thing that's there, and end up getting all these trophies, awards, but not for gloating. Purely, it was just my way of driving. If you buy something, you're going to buy the set. You don't buy one fork, you buy 6, or you don't buy one wine glass, you buy 6. So that was my just my way of thinking.
I love it, and it's your mindset. Go back, do it again, get better.
Yeah, always. You go back a second time and do it better. It's whether you want to do it a third or fourth time for other reasons.
I don't know if I want to run around Australia again a second time. I think next year, sort of 5 months will be long enough. I at some point need to grow up and start thinking about a family. And
I've got a wife that's got Parkinson's, so my time of being able to get out there and do those sort of things is going to start to be limited, because obviously number one is to look after her. 53 years together and there's some connection there.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. Yeah. But I think what I love about the way you go about it is there's always something you can do. So you might not be able to do, those feats, like for example, Bravehearts, you might not be able to get that time away from Robin, but you can do something. And it's always about focusing on what you can control. And that's like doing the hard things like your daily core work, no matter what you show up. I think there's so much power in that. What would your advice be to someone who maybe 50, 60, 70 years old and they've stopped with exercise?
Start slowly. Always set a goal. That's never changed. Set a goal, but and yes, you can have a high goal at the end, but break it down. And then if you've got a high goal, quite often you can set a higher goal to belittle that. So if you want to run a marathon, tell yourself you can actually run further than a marathon. I want to run further than a marathon. Or if you're going to go for one of the best training regimes I've been able to do over the last few years training for Ironman is to do the double runs and the triple runs. So you might sit and think, I've got to learn to run 30K. That doesn't mean you've got to run 30K in one hit. Run 15 or 16 in the morning and then run 10 in the afternoon. Well, suddenly there's 26K. But what happens is that 10K in the afternoon becomes faster.
Yeah.
And when you get to the point where you know your body can actually handle 3 runs, the third run might only be 4 or 5K. But you're running as fast as you can ever run as such in that 4 or 5K. And so the 16 you ran in the morning doesn't become you don't get into that mindset of running slow. You actually learn to change your body up and do things. But therefore you think, wow, I've run 3 times a day, or I've run twice a day. And then suddenly that 75K a week that you're doing just blows out to 100, but you've really not made much of a change. You haven't tried to run a 30K run, if that makes sense. Yes, or in one hit. And then your body, it's been proven that your body will actually learn to run stronger and better by splitting those runs up than trying to go. Because if you go out and run a 30K run and then next week you're trying to do a 30K run or whatever, your body's going to get damaged. But you break it up, get a little bit. Yes, you got to do it on race day, but you've done the training. As we come back to earlier, you said you've done the training. So then race day.
Yeah, well, exactly. And you're not going to be as fatigued on race day. So that's where I think a lot of people make that mistake of overtraining as well. And I'm still learning that. I'm a coach, but as we know, we will always push ourselves harder than what we'd prescribe other people to. And even last week, like I felt a real just, whoa, I need to step back, like a bit of a burnout from training. And I needed to dial back the intensity and now I feel good again. So you're constantly learning, but I think, mate, 3 runs a day. You're almost at the Goggins 4x4x48 level. Do you know what that challenge is?
Yeah, I've heard of it. But the 3 runs a day, you might only do that twice in that week.
Yeah,
but you got to build to it. I think that you asked the question before, I sort of sidestepped it, but as a 50, 60-year-old, what to learn? Try and start running with a group of people.
Yeah. Because
each and every one of them will motivate each other. You go out, and running can be boring if it's not done the right way. So go out and run with someone else. Not all the time. You might go and do your own run and just get your mindset. You know, I love running by myself on certain times, but there's other times I just love running with 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 people because you just the running component, whatever you're doing, goes into the back, and therefore the pain goes in the back, and it becomes a very enjoyable run. And you suddenly think, wow, I won't have to run 15K, but we ran 18K, or we ran 15K and it was enjoyable. So
yeah,
that's probably what.
No, so well said. Well, it's that physical, mental, social health benefits all in one. Yeah. So you come away just like, how good is that?
Yeah, I can't handle when I go into the gym. I hear this music. I mean, you just you get in the pool. You don't swim with music in your ears. You just sit there and swim. You don't get in a run race and put music in your ears. You just run. So why do it in training? Do what you do in training. What you're going to do in a race, do what you do in training. That's always been said. This thing of having loud music, and it's just, you need to be able to train your mind to just do what you got to do.
Embrace the suck.
Yeah, embrace the suck, 100%. Yeah, hug the hard yards.
Yeah, we had this conversation maybe last week where I called you and went to voicemail, and then we got onto each other, a bit of phone tag, and I was like, I didn't call you during your core work, did I? And you told me no, but you're at the gym and there was a young bloke who was there and he had his phone and he just kept looking at it, Yeah. What's your advice to people who are on their phone at the gym?
You put your phone in the bag and just leave it there, or turn it off, or do whatever you can do. That's just the only thing you should be looking at is, if you want to, is just turn your watch off on the clock, on the time, as in if it's 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock, turn it off and just put it on so it's stopwatch is going, and you know that you've been here for 30. Well, you look at it's only been 30 minutes, but if you look at it and say, 5:20, I better get home because the news is about to start. Well, no, switch it off. Just put the timer on. That makes sense, yeah. And then you know you've done 30 minutes core work, because 30 minutes is kind of getting.
I love it, mate. Well, we could chat all day. We honestly could. You've lived a life, Brian, and I've only been a very small part of it, but I've loved every minute, and I look forward to some more runs with you, mate. Good luck for the 777. Can't wait to follow it. As I said, I will see you finishing with your family. That'll be pretty special, and with all your fundraising as well. Do you have a fundraising goal?
I do. The criteria with Bravehearts is that you raise 10,000 for each participant, and then obviously it's their events, they put it together and they cover all the costs. When we start putting it together, and I like being a higher achiever in certain things, so we start putting things together with Mark and I rang him, son, and I said, listen, it's 10 grand each, it's nothing. We can go. So I went back to Bravehearts and said, we're committed, we'll raise 40,000, hopefully we'll raise 50, but we'll commit to you 100% $40,000, which is double of what they wanted. I hope we go higher, but we'll achieve the 40,000. No
Incredible. Where are you at right now?
We're sitting on probably about 20,000.
Yeah.
But we do have an event coming up on the 31st of March, which is at the Edgewater, and it's through an organisation called the Brewers Lunch. And they're an organisation that put on events every quarter for a particular charity. So it might be for the blind dogs, it might be for the Cancer Council. This particular one, they've said to us, yes, you can do it for Bravehearts. We know that particular event through the auction and things I've organised through auction items and the raffle, will raise every bit of 10 to 12,000 just from that one event. So that will take us straight to 30,000.
Amazing.
We're only 10,000 short. We'll get that somewhere.
It's going to build legs at the end, you know. It always does.
Always does. You know that. Yeah. The biggest part's always the end as you start to get into the week of the event. So I'm excited. We're excited. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Awesome.
I'm looking forward, because what I'm learning from it is, as you know, the little Sunday long run. Paul, who is a photographer, asks me to write a story every week, every second week, and I'm actually putting my thoughts down on paper, and it makes me think and put little things there, I'm enjoying that, because it's just making me more determined to do what we've put our hand up to do.
You're going to do so well, mate. I can't wait to follow it, as I said, and see you smash not 40,000, not even 50,000. You're going above that. I'm confident of that. So keep striving to be the best person you can and inspiring others along the way, mate. Thanks again.
Appreciate it. Thanks very much. And look forward to some of those Currumbin Creek runs with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, thanks, Sean. Appreciate it.
We hope that you love the podcast, and if you did, please leave a review and share it with others. Did you know that you can train with us at First 42K for as little as $9.95 per week? If you're looking to fall in love with running and achieve your first 5K, 10K, half marathon or marathon, unlock your 1 week free trial at first42k.com.au. I'd like to thank our partners at HGG Performance for providing the podcast space. HGG Performance manufactures strength and rehabilitation equipment, which is hugely beneficial for runners looking to improve performance and prevent injury. Use the code FIRST42K for 10% off their products. Until next time, live happy and run strong.